hybrid, blended, online. So these are all terms that are used with courses that place some or all of their content online. This particular class is a hybrid course. And what I mean by that is that we will never meet in person on Fridays, yay, right? But that doesn't mean that the online content is optional. I'm actually counting on you to have worked your way through that online module before our next class meets on Monday. Sometimes I'll ask you to bring an assignment that's based on that content, but we will always build on that content for the following week. Now, I know that many of you have experienced some form of online class, sometimes successfully, and several of you have shared with me the pain that you've experienced. So I thought that I would share a couple of my personal examples to set the stage for the tips that I share with you a bit later. So I actually started, self-confession here, an online self-paced advanced statistics course about 7 years ago. Now, I tried really hard to convince myself to do the assignments. It was completely optional on my part. I paid my money, but ultimately I decided that I did not have a high enough commitment because I just could not convince myself to do the work. So I actually ended up dropping that class. I also have 2 children, and they have both taken online courses, and they're children, but one of them's almost off to college and the other one's in high school. And one of my kids is naturally just incredibly well organized. So the online course was actually a breeze. That child finished it way ahead of schedule and made a really high A. My other child had a much harder time. The self-paced nature of that class really seemed like a very good reason to do other things other than that online course. Now, I share these examples with you because I think that many of you will have fallen into these different categories if you've had these experiences. And if you haven't, I want to give you a few tips that will actually help you be successful. But before I do that, I'll also share that I've taught fully online courses, and my approach is a little different. I really still want to be very present with my students. I get to know them as individuals. I treat them as individuals. We end up having special meetings. It's a lot like a normal class where all the content is handled online. So when I designed these hybrid modules, I started off by asking, how can I use our online experience to help you learn even more than if we had met in class for, 3 times a week or so? I really wanted to reserve our in-person class time for teamwork and a lot more complex topics and content that we need to practice and experience together. So I really hope that you find these online modules engaging and informative as you learn. So let me end by sharing my top 5 tips for being successful in this particular hybrid course. First of all, I found that if you set aside at least an hour every week to go through our Friday Experience online module, you will be a lot more successful. I always post to them a full week ahead of time, so you're going to have the flexibility with how you access that content. A lot of students find that setting the exact same time aside for the entire semester, sometimes even the same course time, helps them stay on track and never miss an online class. That could be on a Friday if that works with your schedule, but if you have other things to do on a Friday, put it on a Thursday. Just be consistent throughout the semester. So my second tip is to keep up with the readings that accompany each module in the course. Students really like this textbook. It's really good examples and it's pretty easy to understand. Now, some people will do the readings before they actually access the online module, and other people will do the readings after. That's really a matter of learning style and preference. But please realize that I have not designed that online content as a direct replacement for reading the text. So try to still do those readings. My third tip is do all the extra activities that you can and follow the links to the extra videos. You can even re-watch content that's confusing for you. All of these options will allow you to explore the content more deeply, and you can kind of customize the course to meet your particular needs. Every module is going to follow a similar path, but there are going to be some differences some weeks. So, for example, a couple of classes will run them as web conferences. That's actually directly related to our content, and it also gives you exposure to a different online format. So be flexible and ask questions And if you feel like you can't find something in an online module, please ask us. We'll be more than happy to help. My fourth tip is please remember that the process of selling is really one of building relationships, and every single person approaches this differently. I will give you a lot of different examples, both on video and also in class. One of the things I try really hard to do is to vary my words, because I want you to go, ooh, and realize sometimes that's not something you would want to say. And other times you're going to go, ooh, I could try that. I know I'm a little quirky, and I tend to be fairly direct when I speak, but you may not be that way. Realize I don't expect you to mimic the examples that I give. I'll give you all these different examples, and my hope is that you will be able to internalize it and make things your own, and then practice saying them in your own words. The more that you're willing to play around with the things that I teach you, the sooner you'll be able to settle in on approaches that make you comfortable. Be willing to experiment. You know, almost everything you learn about sales is going to help you in your personal relationships. And when you get ready to interview for jobs, wow, I think you'll be surprised at how the process we learn here is right on target. My last tip is ask questions and engage in the course. One of the great things about a hybrid class is that I get to see you in person each week and build that relationship. And if you have questions or concerns, come talk to me. If my office hours don't work with your schedule, let's set an appointment. Nothing makes me happier than to see my students using the ideas and the concepts that you're learning in my classes, and then you go out there and you get these great jobs, or you get into a great graduate program. So I'll end by saying I try really hard to be open to your feedback. We have created our course experience together. So let's see how far we can push this Friday hybrid experience and learn things that were never possible in a traditional classroom format. Thanks so much.